Vice President Harris is set to lay out her economic plan in North Carolina today. It comes after she made her first appearance with President Biden since he dropped out of the race. Meanwhile, former President Trump spoke at his golf club in New Jersey, focusing on the economy and blaming Harris for the Biden administration's immigration policy. ABC News senior reporter Catherine Falders joins me now for more. Catherine, Trump was surrounded by grocery items during his remarks last night with a sign, "Price increases since Kamala Harris took office." How vulnerable is the Harris campaign on the issue of inflation, and what's Trump promising to do about it?
Well, look, I think both campaigns are particularly vulnerable here. At least polling has shown that Harris and Trump have room for improvement on this issue. The economy is literally the top issue on voters' minds going into this election. Now, of course, you'll hear from Harris later today. She will lay out the ways in which her administration, if she were to be president, would combat price gouging, reforms obviously geared towards that, housing and tax cuts for the middle-class families. You will hear her talk about with at least what the campaign says. There are specifics attached to it. You see that graphic right there, her economic plan, including the construction of 3 million new housing units, the capping of costs of insulin at $35, and out-of-pocket expenses for prescription drugs at $2,000 for everybody. You see the child tax credit of up to $6,000 for families with a newborn. That is what we expect to hear from Vice President Harris today during her speech. But look, this will obviously be in contrast with former President Trump. This week has been about the economy for both campaigns. They've had these dueling speeches. Trump held his speech on Wednesday in North Carolina, that same state where Harris will be. Yesterday, he was at Bedminster. That photo there is at his Bedminster Club in New Jersey, where he talked about the price of groceries, inflation, blamed it on the Biden-Harris administration. But the reality of this is that he didn't offer too many specifics on how he would combat these issues. He just placed the blame squarely on the Biden and Harris administration. So his advisors behind the scenes would hope to hear more from the former president on policy issues, including the economy. Now, Trump did do some of that. At the same time, his speeches this week have essentially delved into personal attacks on Kamala Harris. In fact, he was asked about those personal attacks on Harris at his press conference yesterday, Diane, to which he said he's entitled to those personal attacks and that he will continue to do them. So, again, I think from Harris today, you will hear her try and paint this picture of this stark contrast between her and former President Trump.
Catherine, the former president also just announced his presidential transition team if he's elected. What are you learning about them?
Yeah, so this is something that both campaigns, the former president has to do here, announce a transition team. And what that means is this is the team that will essentially lead Trump's transition back to the White House should he win the election. Now, we know that there's some top donors on this list, including Linda McMahon. McMahon served in Trump's administration when he was president previously as the administrator of the Small Business Administration, so she will chair that. We also know that J.D. Vance is on there as an honorary chair. So this is something that he announced, that he plans to at least put them to work in some ways to figure out how he would transition back to the White House. And it isn't just in terms of logistics. This also has to do with all of the policies and all of the different agencies and what people that they would appoint for certain positions in his administration if he were to win.
And I want to bring in ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang, who is in North Carolina right now. Selena, what can we expect to hear from Vice President Harris at that event today?
Yeah, Diane, this is going to be Vice President Harris's chance to lay out her economic vision to the American people. So she's got the task here of highlighting the Biden administration policies that she believes has helped the American people, but also she's repackaging and recasting this in a way that she believes is going to be more attractive to the American voter. So her plan really focuses on lowering costs in a number of areas, including housing, groceries, as well as medical costs and cutting taxes. So I just want to read to you some of her key policy highlights, her proposals for her first 100 days in office. It would include up to $1,000 in down payment support for first-time homeowners, the construction of 3 million new housing units, so she's trying to address the affordability as well as the supply issue in the housing market. Then also, when it comes to medical costs, she would want to cap the cost of insulin at $35 and out-of-pocket expenses for prescription drugs at $2,000 for everyone. So here she's building on the Biden-Harris policy achievement that was just announced yesterday in terms of negotiating down the prices of those key 10 Medicare prescription drugs. Then when it comes comes to families, she's proposing a child tax credit of up to $6,000 for families with a newborn. Another big area is on food and grocery costs. She's proposing a ban on corporate price gouging on food and groceries.
Now, Selena, the Democratic National Convention kicks off on Monday. We saw Vice President Harris make her first appearance with President Biden yesterday. Now, he's expected to speak at the DNC along with President Obama. What are you watching for there?
Well, look, Vice President Harris is going to be riding the enthusiasm all the way to the Democratic National Convention. She is going to be on a bus tour with Governor Walz over the weekend. And then during the DNC, before she is set to speak on Tuesday, the campaign tells me she's going to be rallying nearby in Wisconsin. And it's going to be a momentous moment when the DNC kicks off. It will mark just about a month since President Biden dropped out of the race, a really surreal few weeks as the entire party has coalesced around Vice President Harris. Of course, her and Governor Walz have already been confirmed as the nominees in that virtual roll call vote. So this Democratic National Convention is really going to be about rallying that support, that enthusiasm, unifying the party platform. This is going to be that big coronation. President Biden, who as of just about a month ago is expected to be getting that nomination on the stage, now he's going to be one of the early speakers to cheer on his vice president as a nominee. Then, as you mentioned, there are a number of major speakers, including the Clintons, as well as Obama, and many, many others.
Selena Wang, Catherine Falders, thank you both. The Democratic National Convention kicks off on Monday. We will have full coverage right here on ABC News Live all throughout the week.